All right, this is Algebra 1B, Part 1, Unit 3, Lesson 8. And we are looking at the distributive property. Distributive property. The last couple of videos have been pretty short. This one will not be. It's fairly involved. So it's going to take some intense focus to make sense of. Right, the distributive property says this. If I have a number multiplied by a sum, so a quantity multiplied by a sum, so let's say 3 times 4 plus 5. That's the same as distributing the 3 to the 4 and to the 5 separately. We can verify 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 12 plus 15 is 27. Okay, so it works for numbers. Where the fun happens is this. So let's say we're asked to simplify with the distributive property. We can simplify 4 times x plus 5 by distributing the 4 to the x plus 5. So we can multiply the 4 by the x and the 4 to the 5, resulting in 4 times x, or 4x, and 4 times 5, or 20. That one's simple enough. But what happens when you have a binomial by a binomial? Simplify. Say x plus 9 times x minus 6. Okay. Now the lesson gives you a table method, but I want to show you the straight out method here, the straight out technique. I'm going to distribute the quantity x plus 9 in parentheses to the x minus 6, just using the distributive property. So x plus 9 times x plus x plus 9 times, or not plus, but minus x plus 9 times 6. Okay, notice how I distributed the x plus 9. Okay, so x plus 9 went to x and negative 6. Then I'm going to distribute the numbers on the outside here. The x gets distributed to the 9 and to the x. The 6 gets distributed to the 9 and to the x. But careful, there's a negative sign there. Right? So x times x plus 9 is x squared plus 9x minus, I'm going to put a parenthesis here, 6x plus 54. 6 times 9. And then I'm going to redistribute 1 here, or just think of distributing the negative. And we end up with x squared plus 9x minus 6x minus 54. Now we can regroup a little bit using the associative property. You see how involved this is. 9x minus 6x is 3x. So this is x squared plus 3x minus 54. And you might be thinking, boy, that's complicated. Right? It is kind of complicated, but there's another way to do it. The lesson teaches a table technique. So here's the way the table works. I'm going to put x and 9 down the left side. So down the left side is x plus 9. And across the top is x and negative 6. That's x minus 6. Okay? And I'm going to complete the table. Complete the table here. All right, so let's move it down here. All right, and so here's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply each column by each row. X times x is x squared. X times x is x squared. X times x is x squared. And then negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And then x times 9 is 9x. Negative 6 times 9 is negative 54. Okay? And then I'm going to combine the upward diagonal. 9x's and negative 6x's are combined negative or positive 3x's. And so my answer here is x squared plus 3x minus 54. Okay? And you'll hopefully see that that's not too bad to follow that technique. Okay? There are others, but I will stick with this one for now. Okay? So let's redo this. Let's do another example here. Another example. Okay? Let's say I have x plus 4 times x minus 8. I'm going to put x and 4 down the left side, and x and minus 8 across the top. I'm going to multiply the row by the column. X times x is x squared. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. Combine the upward diagonal. 4x's minus 6x's is negative 2x. So the answer is x squared minus 2x minus 24. Okay? All right, so that's how to use the grid technique for multiplying two binomials or two polynomials. We can use that for even bigger problems. And let's go ahead and show you that. I'll show you this one here. X squared plus 9x minus 4 times x minus 3. Okay, I'm going to put x squared here, 9x here, negative 4 here, and x right here, and negative 3 right here. We're just going to multiply each row by each column. X times x squared is, let's do this off to the side, x times x squared is x to the 1 times x to the 2, which is x to the 1 plus 2, or x to the 3, x to the third power. Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. X times 9x is 9x times x, which is 9x squared. Negative 3 times 9 is negative 27x. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. Negative 3 times negative 4, and negative times negative is a positive, 12. And now we've got several upward diagonals. We've got this upward diagonal, and we've got this upward diagonal. Okay, 9x squared minus 3x squared is 6x squared. Negative 4x and negative 27x is negative 31x. So we have x cubed, x to the third power, plus 6x squared minus 31x plus 12. Okay? So that's how to do it with a bigger problem. And you can make this problem just as big as you possibly can think of. All right. Now, by the way, when we combine like terms, we are actually using the distributive property. Remember how I said, if I said the distributive property is a times b plus c equals a times b plus a times c, that applies backwards too. I can pull an a out of both of these and put it in front instead of distributing. So let's say I have 11x plus 2x. They both have an x, so I'm going to pull out an x from both and write 11 plus 2 times x. 11 plus 2 is 13x. So you're actually using the distributive property when you combine like terms. 11x plus 2x is 13x. Okay, but let me give you one more example where we would use the distributive property backwards, and that's this. It's called factoring. I'm going to start with 24x plus 16, and I'm going to rewrite both these numbers as a product of primes. 24 is 2 times 12. 12 is 2 times 6. 6 is 2 times 3. So this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3x. And 16 is 2 times 8, which is 2 times 4, which is 2 times 2, is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And we can factor out anything that is in both terms. So we can factor out a 2. We can factor out another 2. We can factor out another 2 and write that out in front. So I'm going to write a 2, and everything that's not underlined gets left in the middle. 3x plus 2. 2 times 2 times 2 got factored out. And 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So this is 8 times 3x plus 2. Okay? And we can verify this is true by distributing. 8 times 3x is 24x, and 8 times 2 is 16. 24x plus 16. So the distributive property can be applied backwards, and when we do that, that's called factoring. And we're going to deal with that later on in this course as well. Hopefully that helps.